There's a strange moment that happens after you start your first business. At first, it feels like complete freedom. Your name is on the door, you are making all the decisions, and you are choosing the direction of your firm. You're no longer working under someone else's rules, you're no longer supervised, and you've got all the flexibility to make your own decisions. And for a doctor, it might be the day that you open your own practice. For a business owner, it might be the day that you sign your first lease, hire your first person, or land your first serious client. For me personally, it was the day I became a financial advisor. I studied engineering, worked as a mechanical engineer for 2 years, but hated every moment. I never saw myself doing this for the next 40 years. And I left the firm at the age of 24 to build my own financial services practice. Initially, it feels like you've made it. You're in control of your time, you're in control of your schedule, and you are in control of your own money. But then the phone starts ringing, the diary starts filling up. Clients need more attention, patients need more care, admin starts piling up, cash flow needs watching, medical aids delay payments, and someone else is appointed, and that same someone then resigns a day later. Your schedule is a mess. Client sends a formal complaint, and something expensive breaks. The cost starts piling up, and suddenly, this very thing that you've built for freedom starts demanding more from you than any boss or any position ever did. Well, in this episode of Money and Medicine, I want to share a powerful framework that helped me take back ownership of my life. It helped me to scale our team and run a successful practice with close to 50 advisors of date of this episode. Right up next. Michael Gerber, author of E-Myth Revisited, explains that every person who goes into business carries 3 different personalities inside of them. The first one is the technician, the second one is the manager, and the third one is the entrepreneur. All 3 are necessary, but unfortunately, they do not naturally get along. Let me explain. The technician wants to do the work. The manager wants to organize the work, and the entrepreneur wants to imagine what the work could become. And inside most business owners, especially professionals like doctors, specialists, engineers, attorneys, the technician is usually the loudest voice in the room. So let me maybe start with the technician. The technician is the part in you that is technically very strong. The doctor who knows how to diagnose, the surgeon who knows how to operate, the business consultant who knows how to solve problems, the engineer who knows how to fix the process. This is the part of you that probably gave you the confidence to start your own thing in the first place. You were good at something. You studied and trained for years. You sacrificed. You built a skill, a craft, and you became very confident. So that people told you, listen, you should probably become your own boss. You should probably do your own thing. I studied mechanical engineering. I was taught how to think like an engineer, and I was taught calculations, systems, designs, mechanics, problem solving, but no one taught me how to build a business. No one taught me how to read cash flow properly, how to position a service, how to prospect, how to sell, how to acquire clients, and how to lead people, how to create a client experience, and how to build systems, and most importantly, how to scale. So whether you're a doctor or a business owner, you will experience the exact same thing. It's a guaranteed, I promise you this. You study medicine, you specialize, you become highly skilled, you go into private, but then you open your practice and realize that the practice is not just a medical environment. It is a business. It's a full-on small business that you need to run. And business is a different game. The technician often say things like, I'll just do it myself. It's quicker if I just handle it immediately. No one does it the way I do. I can't trust someone else to do this the way that I did it. That thinking will probably build momentum in the beginning, 100% guaranteed. But over time, it creates a bottleneck because everything depends on you. If staff always need you, the practice is stuck. If decisions always wait for you, again, the practice is stuck. If income drops the moment you step away, you bet it, the practice is stuck. So that is the technician's ceiling and future. The technician is excellent at its work, excellent at its craft, but the technician does not naturally build the machine. Which brings me to point number 2, the manager. So the manager builds the machine. The manager wants order. The manager wants a process, a checklist, files, systems, calendars, proper roles, clear responsibilities, and predictable outcomes. The manager is the part of you that says, wait, let me just write this down. Let me just create a standard. Let's train someone else properly. Let's file this. Let's create a filing system. Let's get software in place, systems in place that can simplify the journey for us. In a medical practice, the manager thinks about the full patient journey. How does the receptionist answer the phone? How is a patient welcome? Is coffee offered? How are forms completed? How are follow-ups booked? How are test results communicated? How are accounts handled? How does the room look and feel? How does the patient experience the brand from beginning to the end? And all this matters because the practice is not the only thing in your consultation. The practice is the entire experience. The practice is everything. Patients are constantly forming an opinion about you. The moment they step into your practice, they start forming an opinion. The manager wants to protect the consistency of that opinion, and they want to strive for excellence in that experience. The manager takes what is in your head and puts it onto paper. I always say it puts the vapor onto the paper. But, and this is the big but, the manager can and will frustrate the technician in you. Because the technician wants to move. The manager wants to pause and build systems. The technician says, well, we don't have time for systems. We need to sort this out. Listen, if you can't do it, I'll just do it myself. Or as a matter of fact, don't even delegate because you can just do it better. If you are constantly overwhelmed, constantly fixing, constantly explaining, constantly checking, constantly correcting, micromanaging, then you don't have a people problem. You don't have a time problem. You actually have a technician problem. People need structure. You need structure. And without structure, everyone will guess. And when everyone is guessing, you will always be pulled back into the situation. Then lastly comes the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur lives in the future. This is the part of you that asks bigger questions. Where is this thing going? What am I actually building? What could this become? Could this practice operate without me being here every single hour of the day? Could this become a group? Where is this thing going 20 years from now, 30 years from now? Do I have an exit strategy? Am I going to sell this practice? Is there even a value if I sell it? Could I step away from certain cases and still create value, still make a form of an income? Could this business become an asset instead of just a demanding job? The entrepreneur looks at the business from above like a drone. The technician looks at the business from the inside of your consulting room. For the entrepreneur, the perspective changes everything. I sometimes challenge doctors in private. I remember vividly talking to one of my clients and asking, how do you scale this thing? Not in a vague motivational way, but practically, like as a medical doctor, how can you scale this? Can certain smaller cases be handled by trained professionals under your brand? Can you create a brand that is bigger than your surname? Can you recruit people who work according to your method? Can you create a group where others deliver the standard you designed? Can you build mini versions of the client experience, mini versions of the systems, and more importantly, mini versions of you? That distinction is important. The goal is to create a way of working that can be taught, repeated, and trusted. This is why the McDonald's example is so useful. McDonald's didn't grow because it made the finest hamburgers in the world. It grew because the business was designed as a system. The product was not only the hamburger. The product was the way the burger was delivered, the consistency, the process, the training, the layout, the speed, the accuracy, the experience, and more importantly, the predictability. Every McDonald's was the same. Every process was the same. Every experience that a customer had was the same. Your product is not only your clinical skill. Your product is the way that clinical or technical skill is delivered, the way the patient or client is welcomed, the way your team communicates, the way your rooms feel, the way the experience is repeated, the way the trust is built. That is where practice starts becoming more than a place, where one works hard. It becomes a business with a model that is repeatable. So to conclude, I want to put a question to you, and there's no right answer to this question. At which level do you want to play? Do you want to play at the level of a technician? Let's call this level 1, where you're doing all the work. You are hands-on. You are close to every detail. The business depends heavily on you. You feel in control, but important, you're happy. There's nothing wrong with this if this is what you choose. Some doctors want to remain deeply involved in the work, which is fine. But remember, this will always be built around you. This will always demand all of you, which comes at the expense of something or someone else. Level 2 is the manager. This is where you start going beyond infancy. You start surrendering some of your control and start building structure. You hire, you train, you document, you create systems, you define standards. This is uncomfortable initially, especially for a lot of people that is very strong when it gets to the technical part of things. Because you know your job. And you know also that that job will change. You are no longer only doing the work. You are building the way the work gets done. And again, if this level gives you a sense of purpose, then stay here. But know that once the foundation is in place, you'll default back to execution. And you might default back to being the technician. So the final level is complete handover. This is the level of the entrepreneur. This is where you design the business as a product that you can buy at any shop. You think about scale, you think about leverage, you think about positioning, you think about brand, and you think about enterprise value. You think about whether the business can grow without consuming more of your life. This is the shift from operator to owner. And this is not automatic. This will require a lot of hard work initially. You have to choose it because the technician will always pull you back into the urgent. Another patient, another client, another task, another day, another email, another issue. The urgent will never end. The entrepreneur needs protected space, time to think, time to design, time to dream again. The challenge is not to kill the technician. You need the technician. The technician gives quality. It is not to ignore the manager. You also need the manager. The manager gives you order. The challenge is to decide which level you want to play at. And if it's the level of the entrepreneur, then let the entrepreneur lead. Because without the entrepreneur, the business has no future beyond your own comfort. So maybe the next step is simple. Maybe the next step is for you to pull yourself out of your business, take a drone view, look at your practice, your firm, your business, and ask, where am I spending most of my time? What am I mostly doing? What am I mostly managing? Am I deliberately designing? Or maybe there's a harder question. Maybe the question is, if you need to fast forward 20 years from now and look back onto your life, what is the life you wanted to live? What is the sacrifices that you are willing to make? Where is it that you are willing to spend time on? And what is it that you are willing to leave so that in 20 years from now, you look back at the level that you're playing at and you feel that's a level of purpose. And if you understand which level you want to play at, I want to pose the final challenge to you. Then start planning your plan.